Okay, hello again. We're going to be looking at our final part of the tutorial. And again, we'll be looking at arkosic rocks, but we'll be talking about reactions that involve feldspars, carbonate minerals, and kaolinite. So this will, for the first time, bring us much closer to our carbon sequestration theme. Notice that I'm pointing out here that you can see this rock in PPL and XPL. In PPL, we can see that the plagioclase has a lot of inclusions. It also has some brighter, faintly green bits of white mica that is starting to grow, an actual mica. Remember, those vacuoles are going to hold a lot of water, which can contribute to the mica, whereas the feldspar is anhydrous. The K-spar that I'm pointing at now, you can see the tartan twinning in PPL, but it has relatively few vacuoles, and it might have some hint of cleavage. This is going to go back and forth because I was trying to get back to the cross-polarized light to show how the tartan twinning really distinguishes the K-spar from the plagioclase. Okay, next slide here. We've got quartz looking clear, happy, rounded from its transportation. But then we have this really highly birefringent mineral in cross-polarized light. This is the mineral calcite. It's high relief, it looks gray to pastel, and here it is also an authigenic mineral in addition to forming the calcite. So here the calcite cement. So here this authigenic carbonate, yes, is replacing the feldspar that has dissolved. Okay, in this case, we again see nice large quartz, and we see here's the quartz for you. Okay, and then we see calcite. And notice that our calcite has two distinct appearances. Where there was empty pore space, the calcite is relatively clear and really free of inclusions. But where we had the feldspar in the past, the calcite has started to replace that feldspar. I think the bluish, grayish areas actually do indicate secondary porosity there. Okay, here we go again. You're starting to get the hint of what's going on. In this case, we have a feldspar that's been replaced by calcite and, for the first time, authigenic sphene or titanite. Now, titanite, which I'm pointing out here, is very unusual. This is the first time I've seen this, and it is a calcium titanium silicate, orthosilicate. So the calcium makes sense. The carbonate tells us that we have plenty of calcium, but we need to get that titanium from somewhere. So it's quite possible, and see how the titanite really stands out here. It's quite possible that the titanite is here because previously, at the time of deposition, there may have been a mineral called monazite, which is a titanium phosphate. Now, monazite is a very common mineral in granites and metamorphic rocks and can weather and erode from them. And then monazite has a really high specific gravity. It's very dense, and so it tends to build up in beach sands and other fluvial deposits. So that phosphate group, however, from the monazite could have been attacked and removed by our fluid, and then the titanium is relatively insoluble. And so if we have silica from the area plus the calcium and the carbonate, there we go. We have both the calcium carbonate and the calcium titanium silicate. On the other hand, it's possible that the titanium is coming from iron titanium oxides. Okay, we're going to move on. All right, now we have a new mineral for the first time. We have a destroyed looking plagioclase feldspar, but now we have kaolinite for the first time. This is a secondary mineral. It's got a lot of porosity, microporosity here, so it has this mottled texture, a very low relief, indistinct outlines compared to the quartz. And here, this is an interesting grain. I'll let you read about it. Okay, so we're seeing a cleavage here, but we're also seeing signs of the compaction because this sediment is compacted as it's lithifying. CRF, I think, is a carbonate rock fragment, so there's some sort of limestone or marble contributing here, and then a lithic mudstone clast. This is quite an interesting arkose. And again, the kaolinite is the new thing here. We can look at this in cross-polarized light, and we get just that low modeling, very small grain size of the kaolinite. We see a little bit higher birefringence from the mica, and our carbonate is not looking very good in XPL. Okay, here we are. Clearly plenty of quartz, but we're focusing here on potassium feldspar grains. But these feldspar grains have been totally replaced by the kaolinite. And notice how much black material there is in here. Keep in mind that potassium feldspar can have about 0.3% iron dissolved into it. And so that iron is being liberated and turned into either an iron oxide or hydroxide. Okay, here our kaolinite has actually grown somewhat larger grains. Remember, we can think of this as being on the borderline between diagenesis of the sandstone and really almost low temperature metamorphism. So that's where we have some larger grains within these replacement patches. Okay, a zoomed in look showing how the kaolinite has some compaction and this vermicular texture, and a misspelling. Okay, notice how that area, it has such high birefringence. The kaolinite is actually starting to grow a white mica. So we're really on the borderline of some metamorphism, low T metamorphism. Okay, here, most of what we're looking at is quartz, but in the center there used to be a detrital case bar. In this case, quartz cement has filled in, and this is something called a silicified feldspar, and the process is silicification. Okay, silicification is of interest to me because when you have a clay stone or a mudstone that becomes silicified, that can be used for lithic tools by some prehistoric, in prehistoric times it was. Okay, this feldspar has really been changed. It has vacuoles, but it's starting to grow micas again because the feldspar plus the addition of water provides all the ingredients that we need to start growing clay minerals, and then with a little more temperature and or pressure, white micas. We'll take a look at the view. There's the quartz. We'll take a quick look in XPL and see these needle-like elongate high birefringence, brightly colored bits. Those are the white micas. Okay, moving right along. Here's a feldspar. It's absorbed a lot of water. It's undergone hydrolysis, but there are also iron hydroxides and iron oxides in the area. In XPL, we see the twinning that's consistent with that plagioclase identification. Alrighty. Here I'm not going to tell you very much at first because this is a review. See if you can figure this out. And there's the secondary porosity where the rest of that feldspar used to be. Okay, I clicked on that quite soon, but hopefully you were already thinking kaolinite. And here, instead of merely replacing a grain, we're getting a kaolinite cement. I had no idea when I was an undergrad that you could have a kaolinite cement. I thought the only cements were calcite and quartz. But in fact, here's another replacement where we have the sulfate gypsum in here, causing a small concretion. Probably it's gypsum. However, I've seen barite cement as well. And this is a sandstone that used to have a great deal of oil. Okay, this is really a rock with a high proportion of quartz and a beautiful calcite cement. Here we go, we're closing in. This is a backscattered electron image just showing how the kaolinite fills in and leaves behind a small remnant of potassium feldspar. All right, hopefully you have enjoyed seeing these mineral reactions that we'll continue to talk about.